It's late. The house has gone quiet around you. In that particular way, a house goes quiet only at night. Just the low hum of the refrigerator somewhere down the hall, and the soft tick of a clock you're not really listening to. You're sitting near a fireplace that burned itself out hours ago. The wood has gone gray. A thin, single thread of smoke lifts up from what's left of it, curls once, and disappears before it even reaches the mantel. You watch it disappear, and somewhere in that small, quiet moment, you find yourself thinking about how long it's been since anything inside you felt lit like that. Have you noticed how ashes always look colder than they actually are? How underneath that gray, dead-looking surface, there is very often still a coal, still holding on, still warm. If only someone thought to come close enough to see it. Maybe that's not just true of a fireplace tonight. Maybe it's true of you. But here is what I want you to know before we go any further. You did not open this video by accident. Something drew you here tonight. Something quieter than coincidence. And that was not chance. That was grace, moving toward you, before you even had the words for what you needed. And so, gently, I want to say this to you. The fire in you has not gone out. It has only been waiting for someone to come near it again. And by the time this prayer is finished, you're going to understand something about tonight that you don't fully understand yet. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Before we go any further, let's just breathe together for a moment. Breathe in, slowly, and let your shoulders drop wherever you've been carrying them up around your ears. Breathe out, and let go of whatever you were holding on the way into this video. You don't have to hold it here. Not for the next little while. Maybe for you, it isn't a fireplace at all. Maybe it's a dream you stopped saying out loud. A calling you buried quietly under bills, and tiredness, and the slow erosion of ordinary days that kept asking more of you than you had to give. A version of yourself that used to burn a little brighter, a little braver, before life taught you to be careful instead. If that's true, I want you to hear this gently, without any pressure attached to it at all. Nothing about you is finished. Nothing about you has run out. You have simply been resting, whether you meant to or not. And rest is not the same thing as ending. You would not be the first person to feel this way in the quiet hours of a house gone still. There was a night, long ago, when even Jesus knelt alone in a garden while everyone around him slept, exhausted, asking for the weight he was carrying to be made lighter. If he needed that moment, you are allowed to need it too. So let's take this next hour slowly, together. No rushing, no performing, just you, wherever you are. And God, who has never once stopped tending the coals underneath the ash of your life, even on the nights you were sure the fire was gone for good. Before we pray, let's take a moment to remember everything that is already a gift in your life. Let's start simply, with breath, right now, in this very moment. Your lungs are filling and emptying without you having to think about it, or manage it, or earn it. That rhythm has been faithfully repeating itself since the day you were born. Thousands and thousands of quiet mornings. And it is happening again right now. For you. Thank you, God, for breath. For this one, ordinary overlooked mercy that has never once failed to show up. Thank you for this body. This body that has carried you through more than you sometimes give it credit for. The hard mornings, the long nights, the seasons where simply getting up and getting dressed felt like an act of courage. Your body has stayed with you through all of it, faithfully, imperfectly, and it is still here, still yours, still capable of rest and of healing. Thank you for the heart beating in your chest right now, without pause, without a single moment where you had to remind it to keep going. Thank you for hands that have held things you needed to hold and let go of things you needed to release, and are, right now, still and resting. Thank you for eyes that have seen good things, even in seasons that were mostly hard. A sunrise, a familiar face, a small kindness offered at exactly the right moment. Let's widen the circle a little. Think for a moment of the people who love you. Maybe it's a small circle. Maybe it's just one or two faces that come to mind. A voice on the other end of a phone call. Someone who checks on you, even briefly, even in a text message that only says, thinking of you. Someone who remembers your birthday, or the name of your dog, or the thing you're anxious about this week. Thank you, God, for the people who carry a little piece of my life alongside me. Even the ones who are far away right now. Even the ones I don't get to see as often as I'd like. Thank you for old friendships that have survived years and distance and long silences and still feel familiar the moment you pick up the phone. Thank you for new people too, who have quietly entered your life in the last season and reminded you that connection is still possible, even after disappointment. And thank you too for the ones who have already gone on ahead, for the love they left behind in me, which time has not been able to touch, and for the memory of their voice, which still comforts me when I let myself remember it. Think now of your home. Whatever that word means for you. Maybe it's a house full of noise and mess and people you love. Maybe it's a small, quiet apartment that is entirely your own. Maybe it's somewhere in between, somewhere still being built, somewhere you're still learning to call home. Thank you for a roof over my head tonight, for warmth, for a bed I can rest in, for running water, and food in the kitchen, and small comforts I have stopped noticing simply because they are always there. Thank you for the small, unremarkable objects that make an ordinary life possible. A working stove, a soft blanket, a chair that fits your body just right at the end of a long day. It is so easy to stop seeing the things that never leave us. So let's notice them again, together, right now. Thank you for the sunlight that will rise again tomorrow, whether or not I feel ready for it. Thank you for the ordinary mornings, the coffee, the quiet, the first few minutes before the world asks anything of me. Thank you for the sound of rain, or wind, or birds outside a window. The small, free music of a world that keeps turning gently, whether I notice it or not. Thank you for the years already lived, the ones that were hard and taught me things I did not want to learn, but carry with me still, and even the ones I would not choose to relive, because they made me who I am now. Thank you for the mistakes that did not get to be the end of my story. Thank you for second chances, and for the fact that you have never once stopped offering them to me. Let your gratitude widen even further into the parts of your life you don't often thank God for. the waiting, the unanswered questions, the seasons that felt like nothing was happening at all. Thank you, God. Even for the waiting, even for the ash, because I am beginning to understand that you were never absent in it. You were tending something underneath, long before I could see it. Thank you for closed doors that, looking back, protected me from something I could not yet see clearly. Thank you for the delays that felt cruel at the time and turned out, later, to be mercy wearing an unfamiliar face. Thank you for the small, quiet victories no one else applauded. The day I got out of bed when I didn't want to. The hard conversation I finally had. The boundary I finally kept. The old habit I finally let go of. Thank you for the strength I didn't know I had until I needed it, and for the way it showed up exactly when it needed to, and not a moment before. Thank you for laughter, even in hard seasons. The kind that catches you off guard and reminds you for a moment that joy has not left the world entirely, even when it feels far away. Thank you for music and for the particular songs that seem to know exactly what your heart is carrying before you've said a word about it out loud. Thank you for the seasons themselves. For winter, which teaches patience, and spring, which always, eventually, proves that nothing stays buried forever. Thank you for the reminder, written into the created world itself, that dormant is not the same as dead, and that everything that looks bare right now is simply gathering strength underneath the surface. Thank you for warmth. Sunlight through a window, a hot cup of something in cold hands, a blanket pulled up on a cold night, the small, specific comfort of not being cold anymore. Thank you for the way warmth always, eventually, finds its way back to us, even after the longest winter. Thank you for quiet too, for moments like this one, where nothing is being demanded of me, and I am simply allowed to be still. In a life that so often moves too fast, thank you for teaching me, again and again, that stillness is not laziness. It is where I actually hear you best. Thank you, finally, for hope itself, for the simple, stubborn fact that it keeps returning, no matter how many times life has tried to talk it out of us. Thank you for the part of me that still believes something good is possible, even tonight, even after everything. That part was placed there by you, and it has never once been extinguished, no matter how quiet it's had to become to survive. Thank you for this exact moment, right now, for the willingness in you to slow down, to breathe, to be honest, to sit in this quiet space and let yourself be tended to. Thank you for the fire that never really left, even when it looked from the outside like it had. Gratitude has a way of softening the ground beneath us. It doesn't erase the hard things, but it makes room, quietly, for hope to stand next to them instead of being crowded out entirely. So take one more breath here and notice your heart is a little more open now than it was a few minutes ago, a little more tender, a little more ready. Now that your heart is open and grateful, let us bring everything you carry to God in prayer. God, we come to you now, not with polished words, but with what is actually true tonight. The tiredness, the waiting, the quiet ache of wondering whether the best of us has already passed us by. If there is a fear sitting in the room with you right now, let it be spoken here gently, without shame. Maybe the fear is this: that too much time has gone by, that the dream you once carried, the calling, the hope, the version of your life you used to imagine, has quietly expired somewhere along the way, and no one told you. And now it's simply too late. God, we bring that fear to you, and we remember, together, that you have never once measured a life the way we measure it. We count years and deadlines and the calendar closing in on us. You have never once been in a hurry with anyone you love. There is an old truth, tucked into the pages of Scripture, about a bush that caught fire and kept burning, and never burned up. It simply kept glowing, unhurried, unconsumed, in the middle of nowhere, until the one person who needed to see it finally turned aside to look. Maybe that fire had been burning for a long time before anyone noticed. Maybe yours has too. God, we ask you tonight to meet the fear of being too late with the truth of your timing, which has never once matched ours and has never once been wrong. Let peace come now into wherever tension is sitting in your body, your jaw, your chest, your shoulders. Let it loosen, slowly, the way warmth spreads out from a hearth into a cold room. Peace, let that word settle into you for a moment, not as an idea, but as something you are actually offering, right here, right now. God, we also bring you the exhaustion, the kind that sleep doesn't seem to fully touch anymore, the kind that comes from carrying responsibilities no one else can see, a job that asks too much, a family that needs more than there are hours in the day, a body that keeps score even when the mind tries to push through anyway. We are tired, God, genuinely, quietly tired, and so we ask you for strength. Not the kind that grits its teeth and pushes harder, but the kind that comes from resting in your presence long enough to remember we were never meant to carry all of this alone in the first place. Strength. Let that word be a place you can lean into for a moment, the way you'd lean back into a chair after standing too long. There is a promise, gently paraphrased from the pages of an old prophet, about a flickering wick, one that has almost burned all the way down, barely holding on to its last thread of light, and how the God of that promise refuses to snuff it out. He does not step on what is nearly finished. He does not discard what is barely holding on. He bends down, low, and protects the very last of the flame, patiently, until it can burn steady again. If you feel like that flickering wick tonight, nearly out, barely holding, hear this clearly. You are not being extinguished. You are being protected. God, we bring you the confusion too, about what this fire was even for in the first place. Maybe you're not entirely sure anymore what the dream was, or what the calling actually looked like. Only that something in you used to feel purposeful, and now mostly feels like maintenance. Getting through the day, keeping things afloat, without much sense of why. We don't ask you tonight to hand us a 5-year plan. We only ask you to relight the part of us that still wants to ask the question, to make us curious again about what we were made for, instead of resigned to simply getting by. If work has become something you merely endure, instead of something that means anything to you. If the hours feel like they're being spent rather than lived. God, meet that too. We're not asking for every job to feel like a calling. We're only asking for enough meaning in whatever we do with our hands and our hours to remember that our worth was never actually tied to our output in the first place. And if there's a specific fear tonight that keeps returning, quietly, in the background of everything else, the fear that you've simply run out of time for the thing you once hoped for, let it be spoken plainly, one more time, so it can be met plainly. One more time. God, we don't ask you to erase that fear with a single sentence. We ask you to keep meeting it, again and again, for as many nights as it takes, until it finally grows quiet on its own. Some fears don't leave in a moment. They leave slowly, the way frost leaves a window. A little more each time the light returns to it. Keep returning the light, God. We'll keep showing up to receive it. If somewhere along the way, you started believing your worth was tied to how much you accomplish, how productive a day looks, how impressive your life appears from the outside. God, untangle that lie from us tonight. We were loved before we did anything at all. We will still be loved on the days we do nothing worth mentioning. Our value was never up for negotiation, and it was never something we had to earn one more time, every single morning, just to keep it. If you've quietly started to believe that you are simply not enough, not talented enough, not disciplined enough, not far enough along by now to matter, God, meet that lie head on. You did not make people to be finished projects. You made us to be tended fires, works in progress, still becoming, on purpose, by design, at exactly the pace you intended. If prayer itself has started to feel distant lately, if it's been a while since talking to God felt like anything other than a habit, or an obligation, or words said out of routine rather than connection, God, meet that too. You are not offended by spiritual dryness. You have never once demanded that we feel something before you'll draw close. You simply keep drawing close, whether we feel it yet or not. Warm this dry, distant place in me, God. Not with pressure to perform faith I don't currently feel, but with the same patience you've shown the coals under every quiet, unremarkable night this fire has survived. Let's bring relationships here too, if there's strain in one tonight. A marriage that has grown quiet in ways that worry you. A friendship that has drifted further than you meant for it to. A family relationship carrying more tension than peace right now. God, you are not distant from the hard parts of loving other people. Soften what is hardened. Mend what is still mendable. And where mending isn't possible right now, grant the peace to release what needs to be released. Let's bring the loneliness here too, if it's present in you tonight. The kind that can exist even in a full house. The kind that whispers that no one truly understands what you're carrying. That you are managing all of this mostly on your own, behind a face that has learned to look fine. God, you see behind the face that looks fine. You are close to the ones who feel unseen. You have never, not once, mistaken quiet for absence. You know exactly where the ache is tonight, and you have not looked away from it. Say this quietly with me, if you'd like. You don't have to say it out loud. Just let the words move through you. I am not alone in this. My fire has not gone out. God is tending what I cannot see. Let those words settle. Let them replace, even a little, the story that told you otherwise. There is a well-loved psalm that says the Lord is a shepherd, and because of that, there is nothing lacking. It speaks of green pastures and quiet waters, and a soul being gently restored, being led, being walked alongside through the darkest valley without fear of harm. Because a shepherd's presence is there the entire way through. You are being led like that tonight, even in the parts of this season that feel like a valley. Especially there. God, we ask for provision now too. Not luxury. Just enough. Enough for the bills that keep arriving. Enough patience for the people who need us. Enough energy for tomorrow's small, necessary tasks. Enough peace to fall asleep tonight without the weight of tomorrow sitting on our chest. Provide for what is actually needed, God, in the quiet and practical corners of this life. The rent, the groceries, the doctor's visit that keeps getting postponed, the small debts that feel larger at 3 a.m. than they do in daylight. You have never once been indifferent to the practical weight of a life. You care about the whole of it, not only the spiritual parts, and we ask for protection over our homes, our families, our health, our minds. Protect the people we love, wherever they are tonight, whatever they're facing, that we cannot see or fix from here. Protect our hearts from the kind of despair that convinces us nothing will ever change. Guard the fire, God, even the smallest ember of it, especially the smallest ember of it. Teach us, too, what it means to trust a timeline we cannot see the end of. Not blind trust, not pretending the waiting doesn't hurt, but the kind of trust that keeps showing up anyway, keeps tending the coals anyway, keeps believing the fire matters even on the nights it seems to give off no visible light at all. Every ember that has ever grown into a real flame, again spent time looking from the outside, exactly like nothing was happening. Let us stop mistaking quiet seasons for wasted ones. Let us stop assuming that because we cannot see growth, none is occurring. Roots grow in the dark, underground, completely unseen, for far longer than the visible plant ever shows above the soil. Let that be true of us too tonight, in whatever underground season we're currently in. There is a wave that moves through a life like this. Tension, and then relief. Fear named, and then met with something steadier. That is not weakness. That is simply what it looks like to be human and still be held. If there is anger in you tonight, quiet or otherwise. Anger at how long this season has taken. Anger at people who hurt you and never seem to notice. Anger even at God for the silence that sometimes felt too long to bear. Bring that here too. It will not be met with rejection. It will be met with patience. God, meet the anger. Do not flinch from it. Simply stay close until it softens on its own. So if grief has been sitting quietly underneath all of this tonight, grief for a version of your life that didn't happen the way you hoped, grief for a person no longer with you, grief for time that cannot be gotten back. Let it be here too. It is allowed here. You do not have to explain it or resolve it or make sense of it before God will sit with you in it. God, meet the grief. Do not rush it. Simply stay close to it. Let's bring the comparison too, if it's been quietly wearing you down. The friend whose life looks easier from the outside. The sibling who seems to have figured out something you're still struggling to find. The quiet ache of watching other people's fires burn steady and bright while yours has felt, for a long time, like it was barely holding on. God, free me from measuring my fire against anyone else's. Mine was never meant to look like theirs. It was only ever meant to be mine, lit by you, kept by you, and enough exactly as it is. If doubt has crept in tonight, doubt about whether any of this prayer really reaches anywhere, doubt about whether you are actually listening, or whether this is simply a way of comforting ourselves in the dark, I want you to know that doubt is allowed here too. It does not disqualify you from being loved. Even those who walked closest to God in the oldest stories wrestled with doubt in the middle of the night and were not turned away for it. God, meet the doubt gently. Do not ask us to pretend a certainty we do not feel tonight. Simply stay near until faith feels possible again. There is an invitation spoken long ago to anyone who is weary and carrying a heavy load to come and find rest. Not a place, not a technique, but a person, an actual presence, offering to carry what has become too heavy to carry alone. That invitation was not only for the people who first heard it, it was written down so it could still reach you tonight, exactly where you are. If your body has been carrying worry about your health, about a diagnosis you're waiting on, about a pain that hasn't been explained yet, or the simple, quiet fear of getting older and more fragile, bring that here too. God, you know this body better than any doctor ever could, because you are the one who made it. We ask for healing where healing is possible, and for peace where healing takes time. If there are children in your life you worry over, your own or someone else's, someone you love as if they were, bring their names here now, even silently. God, watch over them tonight. Protect their hearts and their paths, even the parts of their lives you cannot see or influence from here. Let them know somehow that they are not walking alone either. If money has been a quiet, constant weight, a number that doesn't stretch far enough, a fear of what happens if one more thing goes wrong, bring that here too. God, you have never once been intimidated by a bank account. You have fed people in deserts and multiplied what looked like far too little before. Meet the practical fear of not having enough with the practical faithfulness you have shown again and again, all through history and all through this one life. And if there is someone tonight you have not yet forgiven, someone who hurt you or disappointed you, or simply never became who you needed them to be, God, meet that too, gently, without forcing anything. Forgiveness is not a switch we flip on command. It is a process you are patient enough to walk with us through for as long as it takes. And if the person you have not yet forgiven is yourself, for a mistake, a wasted year, a chance you didn't take when you had the strength for it, hear this clearly. The God who is tending your fire has already forgiven what you are still holding against yourself. You are permitted to let it go, even tonight. Even if only a little. There is an old promise that says all things are being worked together for good, for those who love God, even the things that made no sense at the time, even the years that felt like pure loss. Not that every hard thing was good in itself, but that none of it will be wasted in the end. Even the ash will be used for something, and there is a peace spoken of in an old letter. A peace that doesn't wait for the circumstances to make sense first. A peace that surpasses understanding entirely and simply guards the heart and mind, of anyone who brings their anxiety to God instead of carrying it alone. Let that peace guard you now, not because everything is resolved, simply because you are no longer carrying it by yourself. God, we ask now, simply, for sleep. Real sleep, not the shallow, half-resting kind that leaves us just as tired as we were the night before. Quiet our minds tonight. Slow the replaying of conversations, the rehearsing of tomorrow's worries, the mental lists that keep unspooling long after the lights go out. Let our bodies actually rest, and let our dreams, if we remember them at all, be peaceful ones. Watch over us while we sleep, the way you have every night before this one, whether we noticed or not. Keep our home safe. Keep our hearts steady. And when morning comes, let us wake up just slightly lighter than we were tonight. One small, faithful step closer to the fire being fully tended again. And God, if we've drifted from community, from people who could remind us in person that the fire is still burning when we can't see it ourselves, soften our hearts toward connection again. We were never meant to tend this alone. Even the most faithful flame needs every so often someone else to kneel down beside it and help stir the coals. Bring people into our path who see us clearly, who speak truth gently, and who remind us on the days we forget that we were never actually carrying any of this by ourselves in the first place. And if, for now, that community feels far off or hasn't found us yet, let this quiet space be enough for tonight. Let it be a small, real place where the fire is tended, even while we wait for the rest of it to come together. And in the middle of all of this, let one truth keep rising quietly to the surface, over and over. The fire was never fully out. Not once. Not even on the hardest night. What looked like ash was never the whole story. Let your breathing slow down again for a moment. You have brought the fear. You have brought the tiredness. You have brought the loneliness and the waiting and the grief that doesn't always have words, and even the anger and the comparison that are harder to admit out loud. None of it was too much. None of it was wasted. Every bit of it has been received, gently, by the one who has never once turned away from what you actually carry. There is nothing you name tonight that surprised God. Nothing that made him love you less, or wonder for even a second whether you were still worth staying close to. Every fear, every tired admission, every quiet doubt, all of it was already known, long before you spoke it, and none of it changed how he feels about you. That is what it means to be truly known and still held. Not known and tolerated. Known completely and loved anyway. Loved still, loved again. Loved exactly the same tonight as on the night this fire was first lit in you. Rest here for just a moment longer before we move forward. There is nothing left to fix in this moment. There is only this. You. Breathing. Held. Exactly as you are. And as you rest in these words, hear what God wants to whisper to your heart today. Here is what God says to you tonight. I have not forgotten the fire I placed in you. I was there when it was first lit, long before you had language for what it even was, and I have not stopped tending it since, not for a single day, including the days you were sure I had. You were never too much. You were never too late. Time has never once caught me off guard, and it has not caught me off guard with you. Carry that with you for a moment. There's an old promise about seasons, that there is a time for everything under heaven, a time to plant, and a time that simply looks like waiting, before anything visible breaks through the surface. Nothing in that waiting was wasted. The waiting was part of the growing, even when it didn't feel like growing at all. I have kept things warm in you that you thought had gone cold. I have not been absent from the ash. I have been underneath it the whole time. The way warmth stays low in the coals long after the flame has stopped being visible. Let this promise settle over your fear of having missed your moment. The plans I have for you are still good. They were good on your best day, and they are still good tonight, on the day that felt hardest to get through. My plans were never dependent on your strength. They were only ever dependent on my faithfulness, and my faithfulness does not run out. Say this quietly with me now if you like. Let it settle into the tired places. I am not too late. My fire has only been waiting. God's timing has not failed me. Let it rest there a moment before we continue. There's a passage that speaks of an eagle renewing its strength, rising up on wings, running and not growing weary, walking and not fainting, simply because it waited on the Lord instead of rushing ahead alone. That is not a promise for people who never get tired. It is a promise specifically for people who do. You will rise again. Maybe not today, and that is all right. Rising does not always look sudden. Sometimes it looks like one small breath at a time, one small ember catching again, until the whole thing is burning steady once more. I have not asked you to make the fire. I only ever asked you to stay close enough to me to be warmed by it. Hear this too. Gently. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not too broken, too old, too tired, too far from where you thought you'd be by now. None of that changes who I say you are. I call you mine. I call you kept. I call you mine. Still burning. Even now, there's a quiet promise from an old letter that says nothing. Not height, not depth, not the past, not the future, not anything at all in this life can separate you from the love of God. Not the ash, not the waiting, not the years that looked from the outside like nothing was happening. The love that first lit the fire in you has never once wavered. It is not more present on your good days than your hard ones. It is steady, the way a hearthstone stays warm long after the flame above it has quieted. There's another old promise, spoken to a people who felt forgotten in exile, far from everything familiar. That God knew the plans He had for them, plans for good and not for harm, plans to give them a future and a hope, even in the very place that felt like the end of the road. That promise was not only for them. It was written down so that it could still be read and still be true. Tonight, for you, you are not in exile. You are not forgotten. The place that feels like the end of the road is not the end of your story. It is only a chapter, and I am already writing what comes after it. There is a promise, tucked into an old letter, that describes something precious carried in ordinary clay jars. Plain, breakable, unremarkable on the outside, so that whatever glory shines out of it could never be mistaken for coming from the jar itself. It could only ever have come from what was placed inside. You were never meant to be the source of your own fire. You were only ever meant to carry it. And a carried flame does not need to be strong on its own. It only needs to keep being carried, gently, one more day at a time. The cracks in you are not disqualifying. They are very often exactly where the light gets out. Exactly. There is an old promise, spoken through a prophet to people grieving everything they had lost, that God would give them beauty for ashes. Not simply take the ashes away, but exchange them. Trade the very thing that looked like ruin for something that could only exist because the ruin happened first. I am not finished exchanging your ashes. What feels like loss tonight, I am already turning into something you cannot yet see the shape of. Beauty is coming, and it will not have been possible without the fire that came before it. Hear this promise too, gently, about mercy, that it is new every single morning, not recycled from yesterday, not running low no matter how many mornings have needed it before. Great is His faithfulness, new again, every single dawn, including the one that is coming for you tomorrow. Whatever mistakes you made today, whatever you didn't get to, whatever felt unfinished when you turned off the light tonight, tomorrow's mercy is already prepared, untouched, waiting for you the moment you open your eyes. There is a promise about light shining in darkness, and darkness never once being able to overcome it, no matter how deep or how long it lasts. Darkness has power to hide things. It has never once had the power to extinguish light that refuses to stop shining. Your fire is that kind of light. It has been shining quietly this whole time, even in the darkest parts of this season, and the darkness was never strong enough to put it out. It only made the light easier to notice once you finally looked. And there is an old promise about a sun of righteousness rising with healing carried in its light, about a morning coming that will feel like leaping, like relief, like a weight finally set down after being carried for far too long. Dawn is still coming for you. Not someday, in some vague, far-off way, but genuinely, faithfully, the way morning has come after every night before it. And when it comes, you will find that I was already there, waiting for you in it. There is a promise about years the locust has eaten, seasons that felt entirely wasted, eaten away by hardship or delay or simple bad timing, and a God who says He will restore them. Not erase that they happened, but restore what they cost you, in ways that will look, in the end, like more than you lost in the first place. The years that felt wasted were not wasted on me. I was present in every one of them, and I am not finished restoring what they took from you. What looks like lost time to you looks, from where I stand, like preparation you didn't know you were receiving. And there's one more promise, quieter than the others, easy to miss, that God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not distant from your lowest moments, not waiting for you to recover first before drawing near. Closest exactly there. I was never further away on your hardest nights. I was closer. I am closer now, tonight, than I have been in a long while, simply because you finally slowed down enough to notice me here. And one more thing. Before we close this part of the prayer, there's an old blessing spoken over people about to enter unfamiliar ground, that the Lord would go before them and be with them, and would not leave them, and would not forsake them. So there would be no need to fear or be discouraged about whatever came next. Wherever tomorrow takes you, I am already there ahead of you. I have already walked the ground you're about to walk. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into a place I have already prepared and already filled with exactly the grace you will need for it. Let this promise be the one you carry out of this video tonight. I am not finished with you. What looked like an ending was only ever a resting place. And resting places are not where stories stop. They are where they get ready to continue. You will look back on this season one day, and you will see clearly what you cannot see now. That I was near the whole time. That the ash was never abandonment. That every quiet, hidden day was still a day I was faithfully keeping watch over the fire in you. Breathe that in for a moment. Let these words be more than something you heard once and moved past. Let them be something you return to tomorrow and the day after. On the mornings the fear tries to speak louder than the promise did tonight. You are allowed to come back to this exact moment as many times as you need to, until the truth of it finally outlasts the doubt. You are loved, not for what you produce, or accomplish, or finally figure out. You are loved simply because you are His, and that has never once been in question, on any night, including this one. Carry these promises with you, and before you go, receive this final blessing. May you leave this quiet space tonight lighter than you arrived. May the fear that told you it was too late grow quieter and quieter until it can no longer be heard over the truth that you are held right on time, exactly as you are. May you sleep tonight knowing that nothing in you has gone out. It has only been resting, tended by a God who has never once left the room. May peace settle over your home, and strength meet you gently in the morning, and grace walk beside you into whatever tomorrow actually asks of you. May the people you love be kept safe tonight, wherever they are, and may the ember still glowing quietly in each of them be tended too, the same way yours has been tended here. May every fear you name tonight grow smaller in the daylight than it felt in the dark, and may every promise you carried out of this prayer grow larger the longer you hold on to it. May you find, in the small ordinary hours of tomorrow, unexpected moments of grace, a kind word, a quiet mercy, a small sign that you have not been forgotten and were never truly alone to begin with. May your fire not need to roar to be real. May it be enough, tonight and every night after this one, for it to simply keep glowing, steadily, faithfully, exactly the way you made it to. And on the days it does grow, when it finally rises again into something visible, something others can see and be warmed by too, may you remember this quiet night as the moment it started turning. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because you finally believed it was still there. May you remember, on the hard days especially, that the ash was never the whole story. That underneath it, quietly, faithfully, something has been kept warm this entire time. Something that is still yours. Something that is still becoming. Go gently into the rest of this day, or into this night, whichever one is waiting for you now. Whatever you carried in with you, you are welcome to leave a little of it here. And if tomorrow the fear tries to whisper again that you're too late, or too tired, or too far gone for anything good to still be ahead of you, Remember this quiet room, and remember that you were told, clearly, gently, and truthfully, that none of that was ever the truth about you. The fire is still yours. It always was, whatever tomorrow holds. You do not have to face it as though the fire were still cold. It isn't. It never actually was. It was only ever waiting, patiently, for a moment exactly like this one, when you finally stopped and let yourself notice the warmth still there beneath the ash. And if these few quiet minutes brought you even a small measure of peace, consider staying close to this space. You're welcome here anytime you need it. Tomorrow, and the day after, and every ordinary day in between. If a video like this one gave you a little rest tonight, you're welcome to like it and subscribe, so that whenever you need somewhere quiet to land, this place will be waiting for you. Rest now, beloved. Grace will meet you again at dawn.